What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Stay Brave podcast. Today, I'm joined with what has become my doppelganger in the gym. All the kids believe we're the same guy.
I don't know how we're going to feel good or bad about that.
I think it's good.
All right, it's good.
Well, how do you feel about yourself? You think you're handsome?
No.
Shit. Well, then, do I have to think I'm not handsome?
I think you're handsome, and now I don't think I'm handsome. So now maybe I should think I'm handsome.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm handsome now.
Well, we're not with Rhys, and the real reason is because I couldn't find another microphone, but we'll sort that out later. So,
You can come sit on my lap and we can share one.
we could. Bro, Rhys is the guy that everyone loves to love. So you got big shoes to fill on this episode today.
Yeah, well, if he sits on my lap, then I'll have
They
to
can have it all.
love him as well if he's not careful.
Now, guys, for those who don't know, this is Brentin Mumford. He is a legend in Australian mixed martial arts. He is one of our athletes for CMBT Nutrition, and even more importantly, one of the head coaches here at Combat Training Centre. And over the weekend, the Eternal MMA promotion, which is the biggest MMA promotion in the country, had a double header event where there was events over the Friday and the Saturday night, and Brentin was one half of the main event of this huge weekend of combat sports. Brentin, fuck, what a weekend, man.
It was sick. I had lots of fun.
Tell us about it. Tell us how you're feeling. Tell us, run us through what happened, and let's go from there.
Well, I got super excited when I landed a good spinning back kick. And in 20 pro fights, never been dropped. And I got dropped by a grappler. I was going in to have fun. I said I was going to throw caution to the wind, and every fight I have, I try to be as exciting as possible. It wasn't on the game plan, as you're well aware. we did the game plan together. Yeah, it wasn't on the game plan to do that, but it was there. So I threw a wheel kick and landed, rocked him, and I seen him stumble and landed a couple of good shots, and then I was like, I've got him. I went to go for the clinch to try and knee his face off, and the next thing I was looking at his shins.
You saw some blood and you went for it.
Yeah.
I want to pull up your Instagram post that you just posted because I think it sets the scene perfectly for obviously the rest of the conversation we can have, and we can take it in so many ways. But I just want to read this out because I think
it's very yin and yang for me as a person, for where I was to where I am, I think.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's where we're going to go. So this is on Brentin MMA on Instagram. If you're not already following the man, you should give him a follow.
You can give me a follow because most of the time it's just funny shit and a little bit of fighting. A lot about my dogs.
Some controversy.
A lot of controversy. I've been shadow banned regularly, but funny.
So guys, this is a post he just put up. This is the first time I'm actually reading it. Unfortunately, didn't get the win on Friday night at Eternal. Success. Who'd you fight? Dave Martinez.
It says
Yeah,
it on there.
no, it says he's tagged.
He's tagged.
His thing.
So, yeah.
The smiling assassin successfully almost squeezed my head off once again. That was my 20th fight inside the cage, and I can honestly say that from the start of the camp till after the fight, it was the most enjoyable camp and fight I've had in my career, and I definitely don't regret anything, especially coming back from retirement. Friday night definitely won't be the last time you see me in the Eternal cage. There you go.
Last time.
Having 3 years out of the cage made me realise how much I love competing. If I could turn back the clock, I would approach every fight the way I did this one. I thought fighting was my identity, and if I lost who I was, I felt like it was a job that consumed me. The pressure to succeed took away from how much I love the sport and the lifestyle that comes with it. I missed out on so many enjoyable moments and experiences by carrying this unnecessary pressure around daily instead of embracing the journey. By surrounding myself with the right people in and out of the cage and moving up a weight class has made me enjoy life as a whole so much more. People use the saying, hindsight is 20/20, to express regret or frustration for past decisions. I can agree with that to some degree, but to be entirely honest, without all the ups and downs and hurdles over the years, I may never have got to the place I am right now. So as much as I wish I did so many things differently in the past, I'm excited to keep the ball rolling in the right direction and enjoying my new outlook on life and MMA moving forward into 2025. And obviously you go on to thank everyone. Yeah. Man, That's pretty special. And I think that for everyone who knows you, that one shows some serious personal development. And
I know deep down you're shocked that I actually wrote that, aren't you?
no, I'm not, because
6 months ago you would.
I've been on the journey with you, so I'm not surprised by it, but I'm proud of it. I'm proud to be with you. I'm proud to be your mate. I'm proud for you to be here, and I'm amazed to watch the journey, because in so many ways we're business partners. We're going to become more business partners in the future. There's so much potential for us, and there always has been. And I've always just felt like it's been about you just being able to properly, get everything aligned and feel like how you obviously feel like you feel now. You feel like you're in a good... talk to me about the journey. What was the reason for the post?
I guess because...
Or the context behind it.
Yeah. So anyone that... for those, obviously yourself, seems I've been here up here full time now for 3 years. Right, it's been 3 years since I moved up, since COVID. Yeah, obviously I was coming up before then, but then, like I said, hindsight's 2020. If the gym was here 10 years ago, I wish I had come and did it 10 years ago, because I think a big part of the burnout and losing the fire to compete and all the pressure on the pressure that I was putting on myself, I think a lot of it come from me. I have kids. I lived 2 hours away. So whenever I took a fight, I had to commit 8 weeks to whether I left the country or I drove up and down. And at the time it was Brisbane. Like I'd go to Southside with Pasha, and I'd go to Compton's with Stephen Elliott. And I was doing that 2, 3, 4 times a week. I was like basically living out of my car. And I owned a gym as well in Lismore. So it just felt like I never ever had time to rest. And then in between fights, and I'd obviously have to, I wouldn't be able to continue to train. It just felt like my life had to be put on hold for fighting. So that become my identity. And then the pressure on top of that would be like, I just stopped my life for these 8 weeks to fight. If I lose, the whole 8 weeks in my head was like, why did I do that? I'm not successful. The result was, I felt like the result was who I was. If I lost, you're a loser. If you win, your career's on the right trajectory. And I think I missed out on how fun doing this as essentially a job is. Like, it's a 9 to 5 sitting in office, right? And before I let providing become my main priority, I was a plumber. And like I hated that. It's like living in a revolving door, at the hotel. Just like go to work, come home. There's nothing. It feels like there's nothing at the end. And it didn't excite me. But then obviously having to stop all that and then focusing on fighting, I put lots of pressure on myself. So if I didn't succeed, then I felt like it was a waste of time. Looking back now, obviously that's not how it is. But I wish I had that same outlook, because the way that we've approached. So the 3 years I had off, I guess I was coaching in that too, but I found comfort in who I was, who I am as a person. I wasn't having to pretend to be something I wasn't. I wasn't putting my life on hold to fight. So I guess I just enjoyed it more. And then it made that, and then surrounding myself with people that were aligned with the same things as me, the same goals. Like, we're in the gym all the time and everyone's fighting. And a lot of the people probably have the same mindset that I had. So I guess putting the post up was to let people know that I appreciate everyone that, when I was being a shit person, or like, when I was miserable and negative, the people that still stuck by me, and to get me where I am today, to appreciate how good how fun it is to be involved in the sport and to where I'm at. You know what I mean? I guess that's where it was just more of like an appreciation, and also too to show like the younger guys, like winning isn't everything. Winning is fucking cool, right? But when you make it your identity, it takes away all the fucking cool shit that comes with it. There's so many other cool things. Like, I didn't get the win on Friday night, but I think that having the mindset I have now and had going into it, by just enjoying training, I didn't make it like a job. I still worked my ass off, as you've seen, but I didn't let it control me. I didn't let it consume me. And then I enjoyed the fight. It didn't go the way I wanted to, but I had so much fun because the preparation was fun. My mindset towards the fight was fun. And then after losing, rather than letting it, consume me, be like, oh, fuck, this is shit, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, I had heaps of fun. And having that mindset was obviously contagious to some degree because I think I've had more engagement from friends and family and strangers, like messaging me and coming up to me after the fight going, like smiling. Most people lose, they have their head down. That was me. Head in my hands, don't want to talk to anyone. I have all these people come from far and wide to watch me and I'd be miserable. Where this time, I was happy. I was, all these people spent their hard-earned money to come watch me. Why be a selfish brat, and sulk about it? Like, enjoy the process. Like, so long story short, enjoy the process because, fuck, it's way better than a 9 to 5.
Yeah. I think it's like something that we talked about behind the scenes as well is like you spoke about how in the past you're always chasing this dream. There's always this carrot in front of you. It might be the UFC. It's like these bigger promotions and things like that. And that was what you were always striving for. Then you chose to go into retirement, and that's something I want to talk about. You brought up the identity thing, and we've seen a lot of mutual friends go through that, going from being professional sports people into trying to transition into whatever the next part of their life is. Guys like Nathan, Carnage, Corbett, all these sorts of things which we can talk about. And that's difficult when your identity is a fighter. Like, who are you now if you're not competing and fighting? But then obviously we spoke about you had this dream that you had to work through. You chose to retire, and then you found yourself in a good place where you're like, you know what, I'm going to compete again, and it's for fun, and I don't have those pressures of trying to get to the next level. What about the guys, say for example, there's a lot of guys in the gym right now, or guys that we coach, that do want to get to that next level and do feel the pressure. Is there something that you've learnt on this journey where you're talking about identity and things that, we need to pass on to them as well through this experience that you've had?
I think that's, like when I said like making fighting your identity is like, so I used to have this thing in my head, like if you lost, for whatever reason, your mindset goes, well, I'm a loser. And then you think that the next day and the next week, you walk down the street and you're like, oh, that person knows I lost, Or when you're starting out, it's like, these people that watch me are going to think I'm shit at fighting because I didn't win. That's fucking rubbish. It means nothing, right? Like, you put all the hard work in there. Someone has to win and someone has to lose most of the time, right? So I think, and putting the pressure of that on you, it just puts a ceiling on your growth. And you don't get to enjoy it. You don't get to enjoy the little things which come with fighting or come with competing, right? And I think that when you do that, then, like I said, you put a ceiling on your growth and potential because you don't get to express yourself and have fun with it. Because then you're so worried about losing. I think you're fighting not to lose rather than fighting to win. I think, and that's a big thing. And putting that pressure on, like, if I don't make the UFC, I'm no one. Only a small percentage of people make it. It should be the process you enjoy. And if you get there, sweet. You know what I mean? That's mad if you get there. If you don't get there, you should be able to look back at all the years and go, fuck, that was so much fun. Because if you're, I'm not taking away from people that have these massive dreams to have a successful business, or they do want to have a 9 to 5 and they want to grow this business. Like, if that's their goal, sweet. But if your goal is fighting and your goal is the UFC, don't not enjoy the process. And if you don't get there, you're going to be devastated, which is what I was 3 years ago. But now I think if I have an open mind like I do now, I think the chances, I'm not saying I would have maybe more successful, but I think I would have enjoyed a lot more moments. Like, I got to travel around the world doing this. But every single time I felt like I was so focused on making the end goal that I didn't enjoy any of those moments. Like, I thought I was at the time, but now looking back after this last camp where I've had such a mind shift, I wish I had done it more like that. I think the younger guys probably needed that as well, rather than treating it like, oh, fuck, I've got to go to training or if I lose, like, then they fuck off for a month and drown their sorrows in that. I think, like, you end up just putting a ceiling on your potential to get better. I mean? I think, they should just enjoy it. And when you enjoy things, I think you perform anything. If you're having fun, you're going to perform better. You know, you're going to be more relaxed. It'll all work out. Whether it's you're going to get exactly where you want to be, who knows? But you're going to have fun. Yep. At the end of the day, why are we doing it? For fun. You know what I mean?
Something that we talk about a lot, and I take a lot of pride in because I can relate to it in other ways, is how much effort you put in when you were competing regularly. And that was, we didn't have a lot of the facilities and things that we have now. They just didn't exist, no matter where you are. So you had to travel 2 hours to get some wrestling in. You had to travel 2 hours to get some striking in, and then you'd go back home and do it again. But at that stage, you were working. You were getting up at 4 a.m. to run clients in your own gym and making all of these huge sacrifices or commitments, which I'm not so sure that I see a lot of the younger guys like doing that as much these days, but that is something that you still pride yourself on. I know Volk, for example, prides himself on the fact that he worked as a concreter full time until he was 3 fights in the UFC, and he realized, oh shit, I can actually do this. I can become a world champion. Maybe I should put all my attention into this. But before then, he needed to provide for his family. He needed to work. He didn't have the ability to just not train and get on the dole and come and train. And I know that's something that you want to instill in the younger guys as well, is that work ethic and commitment to training and excellence, or setting a strong standard at least.
Well, I think now, being that the sport is so popular, they're all sport for choice now, because anywhere you go now, there's a gym that has everything they need. So they don't have to do that. So I think they take that for granted, and they're like, I guess they just don't, what's the word, like, they just don't commit themselves entirely, because they don't have to make those sacrifices. When you think, like, they don't have to get in their car and drive 2 hours to training just to get an hour of work in and drive 2 hours home. They don't have to do that. Half the people, they live 10 minutes from a gym. And like, I don't feel like training today. I'll just go tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's in today, like this generation of guys coming up, because they're so spoiled for choice, they just don't have to commit themselves so much. But then you see the guys that are successful, they're the ones that are still committing themselves, and they're in the gym every day. You know what I mean? So I guess that was
what I was going to ask, because you've been at the highest level, and not to mention you've been a key figure in a lot of Alex Volkanovski's camps for a lot of the biggest fights that he's had. Right? You're close with Alex and have worked with him for many years, and Brad, and you've worked with the best, right? And they all come to you for advice as well, and tactical advice, strategic advice for their fights. So, you know, they respect you in that way. You know, what does it take to be successful for these guys coming up?
I honestly think it's just more, what's that? What's the saying, like, you know, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I think that still reigns true, right? Like, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you're a lazy fuck, you're not going to put the work in, you're not going to be successful, because it's when you get to the higher percentage of people, like, you know, the 1%, you know, like the Volkos and that, you can't be lazy. You can't be like, you know, you can't just go to training when you're motivated. You know, you just got to, sometimes they're going to suck. You got to just do it. I think that the younger guys have to take that approach to it and be like, fuck, I don't feel like going to train today, but I'm in camp. I've got to go. Even if it's just to show up, and I'm not saying come in and redline yourself so you get hurt, but, you know, some guys will take 2 days off because they're a little bit down. Come in and get the work in. You know, like, it's like, you know, everything's highs and lows, everything comes and goes, right? They just have to be more committed to it, rather than, and those guys that are the 1%ers, they come in, they do the hard work, and they do the shitty, like, you know, not everyone wants to come in and do Shark Tanks and everyone hold you down and shit. But you can't come in the gym and be the big fish in a small pond every day. That's not how you're going to get to that 1%. You know, that you will put a ceiling on your growth, and that's where it ends. I think younger guys have to go. They just got to, I guess, not having to do all the, like I was saying, not having to sacrifice so much because everything is here. I think they have to somehow change their mindset to be like, to make the most of what they've got, because they're not having to go and chase it. It's all right here. But I think some of them, because they're spoiled for choice, they just, oh, whatever, we'll just go tomorrow. They won't do the hard work.
During your camp, you did not miss a session. You committed wholeheartedly every single day for the multiple training sessions that you had on your program, even if it meant rejiggling some of the sessions where you had to coach or you had to do some private training with your clients and things like that. You would be the last one in the gym when no one was here, and you'd still get it done. Why did you do that? What is it in you that allowed you to do that and have that mentality? Is that just your maturity? Is it like, what is it?
I guess I've always been like that. We're losing it.
We're on. We're good.
Hello. There we go. I guess I've always been like that. Maybe because my whole life I've always played sport, and I guess I've always wanted to be. I just wanted to always be the best. I didn't care about anything else. I was like, fuck, I'm just going to be the best. And whatever I have to do to be the best, I'll do it. And I also hate having doubt, because you can have a false front all you want, but unless you've put the work in, you know, whether anyone else can see it or not, but you know deep down, it's like, fuck, I was pretty lazy this camp. Or when you miss sessions, you're like, you know you missed them. So when you get to the fight, when you're out the back, they're the things you think of. If you miss those sessions, or instead of committing the 8 weeks, you've gone out and party with the boys, and you would know that when it's the one time where that's going to creep in. That doubt will creep in. I hate that. I don't want that. When I lose, I want to know that I lost fair and square. I didn't leave any stone unturned, that I just got beaten by a better person on the day. And I pride myself on that, and I think, I guess a lot of people, maybe they don't do that. I can't. Some nights, like I was saying here, I'll be the last one here at 8 o'clock at night because I had to take clients, because I've got bills to pay as well.
Yep.
Take clients, run classes, but I still got to get my work in as well. I don't have someone here yelling at me to be on the assault bike. Fuck, I hate the assault bike. Fuck, everyone does, right? But you shouldn't have to have someone screaming over your shoulder to work hard. You should want to work hard. Fighting it's a team sport, but you're in there on your own. So if you take shortcuts, it's going to be exposed. And I don't want that doubt to be in my mind whenever I fight. So I'll do everything I need to do. Whether I feel shit, maybe the session won't be great because I feel shit. I'll have a little niggle, I'll adjust it to suit. Maybe it's not the best session, but I'm still going to get it done.
Especially for a sport with such high consequences as fighting. I mean, like, the reality is you can get hurt in there, right? I mean, you haven't even said anything about it, but you've literally detached your bicep from your bone in that fight. You haven't said it once.
Nah, who cares now, because I'm not going to make excuses.
But like that is literally the consequences of this. So if you take shortcuts, the reality is you can get pretty fucking hurt.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's, a massive lesson to the younger guys coming up. It's just like, look, I don't know if you realize the consequences of what you're doing, especially if this is the first time you're getting into it. Some of the younger guys who are having their debut fights over the weekend, you can see in them that they don't realize what they're actually getting into. It's not the same as sparring on the weekends or during the sessions, right? There's a higher consequence to, being inside that cage. And, like you said, all the shortcuts that you've made during camp are going to show up.
Right, Ron.
Yo.
Good?
We swap mics.
Oh, sweet.
Something that I can see all the time out the back of a fight is the guys who know 100% that they prepared properly for this fight, and the guys who are nervous.
Yeah.
Because they're questioning themselves. And the guys that have done absolutely everything that they possibly can, it's not that they don't not have nerves. It's not that they're, nervous about there's a lack of clarity about what's going to happen in there. There's uncertainties. You don't know what you're about to face.
Yeah.
Right? So there's just nervousness about the unknown, about what's going to happen, the energy that you're going to feel. But there's a nervousness that I can feel for the guys that haven't done all of the work that they've needed to do.
Yeah.
And there's certain guys who I see walk up those steps into the cage in front of me where I just go, no matter what happens, no matter what position they're going to be put in, they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then there's other guys where I'm like, fuck, I'm worried about this one.
Yeah. I think failing to prepare, right? When you do everything you can, and say we give our guys schedule. You say these are the sessions. This is your program. This is your energy system stuff. This is your strength stuff. They can do it at their own time. They can do it with people, whatever. I think they're the ones when they know they've missed those, because fighting, everyone gets hurt, right? Like, you know what you signed up for. Fatigue is what's fucking scary. Because when you're tired, I've done it before. I fought Kieran Jobler one time, and fuck, I emptied the tank in the first. The second round was pretty even. The third round, I was just a punching bag. And I think that was the one and only time that I felt that way. And I'm not sure, I can't remember now if it was if there was other shit going on that made me miss sessions or shortcuts or whatever it was for whatever reason, or I just was too maybe emotionally invested in the fight. It was a rematch against him, maybe I was too emotionally invested, but that feeling of just being a punching bag and having no energy, it's the worst feeling ever. So maybe some of the guys that have never experienced that, they don't know, because if you don't know, you don't know, right? Yeah. They've never experienced that feeling of helplessness pretty much. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know what you need to do, but you're so tired that you can't do it. That's way worse than any other feeling in fighting.
Yep.
So them guys you're talking about, that you can see that they're going, they're nervous, or you've seen that they have taken shortcuts. Mm-hmm. That's the part that plays in your mind. That's the little devil on your shoulder. It's like, motherfucker, you took shortcuts.
Yep.
So because that's the scary part's getting tired and not being able to perform. Mm-hmm. The crowd, the person across from you, none of that matters, because in your head you're like, fuck, if I can't get this guy out of there in the first round, I know I've taken shortcuts. I'm not going to survive 15 minutes.
Yep.
That's the doubt, and I hated that feeling, and I would never want. So I would rather like lose, right? But not gas out. Like that whole, like not failing to prepare and then gassing out in there. You know in yourself. And people can, if you got people that put you on a pedestal and shit, they're like, oh, you did so good, that all that bullshit. You'll know in yourself.
Yep.
And I don't want to have the doubt in my own mind ever.
Yep.
Like that. So I'll always try. I'll never leave a stone unturned. It happened one time, and I'd never want to feel that way again.
Do you feel like you said, if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
But you know, right?
Yeah, I fucking know.
Because
that's why I don't do it.
Right? But there's some people that you can lead, you say you can lead a horse to water. Right?
Make them drink
there are some people who need to touch that stove and get burnt.
Yes.
And then there are some people who can learn from guys like you, and they don't need to get burnt.
Yeah.
They can learn from you because you're giving all the information. And we're lucky enough, obviously, to have your experience in this particular gym where, like you said before, you're creating technical training programs for people, non-technical training programs for people, all of the energy system development work. Like you were saying before, you never got all of this. But now you're building all of this. We're building all of this for these guys. How do you feel about, is there any bitterness there? Like, how do you feel about going from like, fuck, I had nothing, and now
there's bitterness there sometimes. Fuck, if anyone fucking knows, yeah, there's bitterness. Only because I didn't have. It's bitterness in the fact that I didn't have it. So then, like we always joke about you being good cop, me being bad cop. There's fucking bitterness there only because I'm like, you little motherfuckers, you just got everything here, and we're putting all this shit on a silver platter, and you're just pushing it aside. Like, make the most of what you're getting. Uh-huh. And I think a lot of them don't, and that's what annoys. It just annoys me more because I'm like, I guess it's the same as like having a mobile phone versus having to go to the phone box and put 50 cents in to call someone.
Uh-huh.
Well, younger, you're like, fuck, if you want to call someone, you had to walk to the phone box and call someone. If you couldn't just pick up your phone and have it right there. I feel like it's the same thing. It's like everything's so convenient and so accessible now that they just don't give a fuck.
Yep.
That's like, fuck, it'd be right.
Yep.
And that annoys me because it's like, fuck, to get to this point, you got to do so much, and now it's right there. You're like trying to show these guys, like, fuck, this is what we had to do. But then sometimes you check me on it regularly, like they've never had to experience that. They've never had to touch the hot stove and get burned and be like, oh fuck, I can't touch that anymore.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Where coming up, I'd touch that fucking stove heaps of times to try and work it out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so sometimes I hold that bitterness in the sense that I wish I had what they have now. But
can we talk about touching that stove with you? Like, you know, can we talk about sort of like some of the mental health sort of ups and downs that you've gone through, especially choosing to go from being a professional athlete your whole life. You played hockey in Canada. For those who didn't know, you have played sport your entire life, and then you chose to retire. And I know, and I could see within you that you were really trying to search for your identity and who you were and what you were going to do next and what life was to you. And there were many, there were many times where you said to me, "Oh, fuck this! I don't even want to be here."
Mm.
But yet, over this weekend and over this camp, people are telling you this is the happiest they've ever seen you. You know, it's been so cool to see a smile on your face, and your energy has just been so infectious in this gym and has lifted the spirits of everyone in here, especially you leading from the front fighting this weekend. You know, I didn't think I was going to see that from you, you know, at one stage. Talk to me about sort of some of the battles that you've had and how you've been able to sort of overcome them.
It's a hard
just
one. I guess, like I said, with the identity thing, it was like retiring. I guess it's like, because when you make fighting your identity, when you retire, it's like who are you now? I guess I struggle with that a little bit. And just,
have you worked out who you are, or have you just done some work? Have you?
No, I think more it's like surround yourself with the right people. I think I just didn't make I made poor decisions. Like I'm not blaming anyone else for it. Like I just think I just made poor decisions, and those poor decisions left me in positions where I was surrounded by people that they didn't benefit where I wanted to be. So it just didn't work, right? Like I don't know how to put it into words, I guess, but I think it was more just like in and out of the gym. I think I was just out of the gym. I was trying to maybe be someone I wasn't. Then in the gym, then I was trying to be an athlete again. And I guess this wasn't working. Like they were two different paths, and I was like stuck at that crossroad.
What were you telling yourself internally throughout that process? Did you feel like a failure? Were you telling yourself that you weren't good enough, that you didn't deserve anything more, anything better?
Yeah, all that. It was just I wasn't allowing myself to go with the highs and lows of it. You know what I mean? The highs were really high and the lows were really low, and really hard to get out from the lows. And once you get in that, I guess, a depressive, negative mindset, when you're not surrounded by the people that want to see you do good, it's hard.
They catch you in those vulnerable moments and bring you down into that world.
And like I said, fighting, I guess, being that it's a team sport in the sense that, you know, you need all the training partners, you need the coaches and that, but it's also a selfish sport. If you have people around you that are constantly constantly making you feel like it is a selfish sport, and that's the only part that they're looking at. So like people that don't have the same, they're not aspiring for something better themselves, you know, like I was saying before about like the 9 to 5 or having a trade or whatever it is. Like I had a lot of people were like telling me that fighting's just a hobby. Like this is going back years, like before even in Australia, there was like 2 guys that were in the UFC that were Australian and they didn't even live in Australia. I'd have people that, you know, your dream was make the UFC, and people would like scoff at it because there wasn't like stable names in there. You know, there wasn't people like now we're here all the time. Like people in this gym that have been there and fought there, and you know, I had lots of friends that are in the UFC. At that time, it wasn't. So I guess when you surround yourself with people that are closed-minded in that sense, it's really hard to come from the lows. Like say about losing, right? Like you lose a fight, and it's almost like all those people that had that, you know, that made you feel like this dream was not, you could not make it a reality. It's like, fuck, you start to think that they were right. And it's hard to come back out of that. And I think that's a lot of the time I struggled with that. And that's when I did the Eternal Insiders podcast thing. I tried to make a point of that. Like, if you have people around you that are constantly putting doubt in your mind, fuck them off. Like, get rid of them. Like, there's plenty of people out there that want to see you do good. You know, they might be your best friend from school, But if they don't want to see you do good and they're the ones and it's keeping you down, fuck, life's too short to fucking deal with that, you know, get stuck in that. So I guess to go back to what was my mindset change was probably more just that. I think I just had to withdraw myself from environments like that and not worry about it. Just go fuck it, you know what I mean? So like for younger guys and younger girls that are fighting, like say if you have, it could be your parents, it could be your in-laws, it could be your partner. If they're not in it with you, or they don't want to see you succeed, that's gonna hold you back. Then they're the ones that are. It's not entirely their fault. You can't always blame everyone else. Like you're your own person, but it's up to you whether you want to keep people around like that. And I think I just went fuck it. You know what? If these people if they're not helping me, or they're not there for the right reasons, you know, I'm not saying tell them to fuck off. Just take yourself away from it. And I think it made a massive difference for me. Well, and as you said, like the people around me have noticed it, and obviously that's it makes it clearer for me to know that I made the right decisions. You know what I mean? So yeah, I guess that's kind of answers it.
What do you sort of like say to yourself now that you're in this good headspace? What sort of things are you saying? What's your internal monologue telling you? Like if you're willing to share it, are you saying, you know, I'm good at this. I know a lot about MMA. I've been here. I've done that. I can help these guys. Like what's sort of like your what's the new purpose that you've created? Because it feels like you've found a new purpose.
Yeah, I guess it's just enjoy it. I feel like I said before, I wasn't enjoying it because I put so much pressure on myself. And if the people around you, the ones that are not in your corner, so to speak, that aren't positive role models, or they're just not there to help you or to pick you up when you're down. I guess not having those people around has just made me be clearer with like what I'm doing. And I did have all those doubts, like, oh fuck it, am I that good? Or you lose rounds in the gym, and it's like, fuck, am I cut out for this? Or when you have people around you that are telling you like fighting's not a real job, it's a hobby, you know, shit like that. Or, you know, you start enough people tell you that shit, then you start to think it. You know what I mean? I think I would just have so many times where I'm like, fuck it, you know, you lose a fight or shit's not going your way. It's like, fuck, these people are right. You start to validate their shitty attitude. I think now, and it's probably over the years of me just getting older and also like and I've noticed it more. So now I just shut that out. You know, it's like having selective hearing. They can talk all the shit they want. And I'm like, fuck yeah, whatever.
Can I tell you what I think and what I've seen with you?
Mm. You've never held back before, so don't fucking start now.
I've seen a lot of friends go from being a professional sports athlete into transitioning into whatever their next sort of path in life is, and I've seen it with you. And something that I've always said is, you know, and we touched on it before, where being a professional sports person in a lot of ways can be a selfish act, and there are certainly times where you need to be selfish in order to get ahead in that sport or that endeavor. But I think that what people really struggle with in the transition is that identity piece that we were talking about before, where it's been about them. It's been about them needing to get to wherever they've needed to get to in this sporting endeavor. And now they need to make a transition where it's about giving. And that's actually where the true fulfillment is, when you're actually giving. And that's where I feel like a lot of these sports people need to go through the process of making this transition to find that purpose again, and then refine their fulfillment, which brings them alignment, brings them back to a positive place, and helps them in the next part of their career. And I really saw that with you, where, you know, it was about your next fight. You know, when you were in camp in your last fights, it was just like, I'm not coaching anymore. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm shutting everything off. It's all about me. It's what I've got to do, etc. As you decided to go through retirement, and as I saw you starting to go through this whole mental transition, and I said to you, man, you need to switch from having this sort of selfish mindset to giving. You need to give to these people now. You've gone through this journey where you've just earned so much wisdom and experience that you now have an obligation and a responsibility to pass that on to the next generation. I guarantee you, you're going to find fulfillment out of it. You're going to find your place and you're going to be happier. And I saw the moment where that happened, to the point where even in fight week, where usually you'd probably be locked up somewhere and you were in a lower weight class and all that sort of stuff, you were still coaching the night before weigh-ins.
Yeah.
You know, I even said to you, what are you doing here? You said, well, I'm doing my class. I was like, mad. I was like, all right, we're on here. You didn't want to you wanted to be there for the guys, you know? And I think that's so powerful, that transition you've made. How do you feel now, you know, going into what I believe your mindset is now, whether you've sort of identified this in yourself or not, I'm not sure, but how do you feel about going into this sort of like giving mindset and this being this leader and giving to guys like Christian and Taser and Odin and the rest of the guys, obviously, and all of the members in the gym? How do you feel about that? And how did that mentality now help you when you chose to compete again?
Well, I think doing it, I guess, like being in the gym all the time and coaching and that, it relit like that fire within me, because I was so burnt out. I feel like I was burnt. I guess that's a good way to put it. I just felt like I was burnt out, and I was like, fuck. I was getting older. I lost when the UFC was no longer a goal, and that was the only goal I had. And like I said, that was my identity. And then I struggled with it. And then obviously you gave me the opportunity to coach full time, and I was in the gym all the time. I was still training just as much. I guess like when the stars aligned, I just felt like I just had that fire again to compete. But I didn't want to. When I would stop everything, like I'd put my life on hold to compete, I think that created that unnecessary pressure to succeed. But like you're saying, like the night before Wayne still being in here coaching, I this whole camp, like we said when we both talked about fighting again, right? Like we both agreed, like, all right, sweet, we can do it, right? I can do it, we can do it. And the thing was, I remember I said, yeah, I'm not stopping anything. I'm not going to change anything in my life to do it, though. If I've got to stop doing anything I enjoy to fight, I don't want to do it.
Do you know my immediate mindset was, okay, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah. Well, if past, you know, of what you see in the past, you'd probably think, fuck, he's full of shit. He's going to fucking turn miserable, and he's going to hate it, and he's going to just be selfish. And because I guess that's, like you said, that's kind of the approach I did have. But I think making it, not having to put my life on hold and stop everything and just living, enjoying every day still, enjoying all the sessions, it made the camp enjoyable, and it relit that fire. And like that Wednesday night before Wayne's, and I was still in here coaching, I didn't want to stop doing all the things I regularly do to fight, because I feel like that is part of the unnecessary pressure to put on myself. And I didn't want that. I just didn't want that pressure. I wanted every day just to be the same as it was. And at the end of the day, a fight is really just heavy sparring. So, you know what I mean? Like it obviously has greater health consequences if you get hurt, but putting that pressure, like the pressure is what I think. It's also like it's a double-edged sword, right? Putting all that pressure on yourself to perform is going to hinder your performance. So, say taking a week off work to prepare for the fight, then I'm like, all right, sweet, I just took all that time off work. That's starting to create that pressure, I think. And I didn't want to do that, and I wanted to be here and work. It just keeps it regular. You know, every day seemed the same then.
Yep.
And like I said, it's the best camp I've done. You know, that was my 20th fight. Probably done more camps than that with injuries and shit as well. But that was the most enjoyable camp. Every session I come in, even when I felt shit, come in, slug it out. Like you seen what I went through this past 12 months in and out of the cage.
Yep.
You know, I probably didn't think I would. I was going to come back and fight. Like half the time I didn't even know what I wanted to do because of all the shit I had going on.
Yep.
You know, but then I think all those ups and downs are part of what made me want to fight again and enjoy it. And so like being in the gym and just doing everything I do every other day, I guess I just didn't want to stop doing that to create this unnecessary pressure.
Yep.
I just wanted to continue to coach, work, you know, and it made it that much more enjoyable. And now being on the other side of that first fight back, and, you know, like people said, like on the photos and that, like, the guy just choked me almost like unconscious, tried to pop my head off, and I was still smiling, going, you know, I enjoyed every moment of it. I didn't like. I wasn't. Obviously, I would have loved to have won, but you know, it didn't go my way. It is what it is. I had fun, and that's why I wanted to do it. I want to do it for fun. If it's not fun, then I wasn't going to do it.
I think so many people are excited to hear your positivity towards competing and not shutting off the idea that you're going to compete again. So, you know, I think that's super exciting. It's exciting for our gym and our community and all the people who have loved watching you fight for so many years. But how do you feel now also passing on all of this experience and wisdom into the guys that are having so much success, guys like Christian Lapham, who so many out there in the combat sports world know, who's come up from being a complete teenager under you all the way now to being a professional who's undefeated at the moment. He's fighting again in Sydney. How does it feel sort of like passing on your experience through him and watching his success? Are you kind of like living vicariously through his successes as well? Like, do you feel excited about that, or are you still feeling like, oh, I'm not hanging up the gloves yet, I'm still doing this for me and stuff? Or
no, I love seeing him succeed. I love seeing all the guys succeed. That me, like coming back to fight out of retirement was, I guess it was not. It used to be like I said, the identity thing and all that shit. It was to fulfill who I was in that, but coming back was just to have fun, you know, and that's what, and I can live vicariously through him and enjoy that. Like, I love when he fights and wins, and
I reckon you're way more nervous watching Christian fight than when you're fighting.
100%. I don't, or anyone who says I don't get nervous before they fight is full of shit, I reckon, because at the end of the day, it's a fight. So, and I think the nervous energy is not that bad, right?
No, it's your armor.
It's you know, that nervous energy, that's, you know, that means obviously you care about the result. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a bad thing to be nervous. But I just get nervous for him and for the guys when you know yourself, when you put all the time in with them and you see how much work they put in and the sacrifices they make. Yeah. When I'm fighting, I'm in control to some degree of the outcome, and when they're in there, it's like, you know how much work you've put in with them, and you once that cage door shuts, you apart from yelling some shit out to them, you're not in control. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that not being in control I think it's fucking way more nerve-wracking than fighting.
Dude, every weekend after these fights, I am just going into like a mental breakdown. I have to admit, like even this weekend there was 2. And usually just after 1 on the Sunday, I'm just like a mental mess. I feel it literally like you've just gone through like a huge event that you've been preparing for so long, or you go to a big festival or something and you have a come down that week after, you go into a depressive state.
It's like an adrenaline dump.
Full on.
Dopamine.
Exactly.
It's like a dopamine sag.
100%. If you saw me yesterday, I was like in a mental rut. And I wasn't even inside the cage. So yeah, for us on the outside, it can be an emotional mess. And, you know, for the guys fighting, it's kind of, I'm sure you go through the same thing. It might feel a little bit different.
I think it's just not having control when you're coaching, and especially like for me, and like, I'm not saying I'm the only one like this, but for me, say let's use Christian as an example. Since Christian was a teenager, when I was doing all the trips up and down the coast, like when he doesn't have a license or nothing, I was picking him up and driving him to training, and at one, like in COVID, me and him, we only had each other at the gym because we couldn't travel. Yep. So that, you know, we would train 5 days a week together. You know, we'd do all of the sessions together. Obviously, now that he lives with me, you know, he's been in my life for like 8 years, kind of thing. I think it's like 8 years or something now. So since he was a teenager to a grown man, and I've helped him through all of his camps. So I guess I'm not only invested in him to see him succeed, but I'm invested in him in life in general.
Yep.
You know, like everything. He lives with me. We train together. We do everything together. I love the kid.
Yeah.
So when he fights, I guess it's probably a little bit of a different emotional investment because of our relationship.
Yeah.
So out of anyone when they fight, I definitely get the most nervous for him. Mm-hmm. And obviously I see this, no one else knows the sacrifices that kid's made in his lifetime, or the shit he's been in his lifetime. Because he holds his cards close to his chest. He doesn't, if anyone ever sees Christian out the back, it's emotionless.
Oh, he's scary.
He's emotionless.
Yeah.
Like
he turns into a different person.
Right? Like he's getting better now with like talking on the mic and after the fight and trying to promote himself. But for example, I had to force him to get social media.
Yeah.
Because I said, bro, if you want to turn pro and you want to make something of this, because he just wants to fight.
Yeah.
If he didn't have to have any social media or talk to anyone, he'd be sweet. That'd make him so much more happier.
Yeah.
So I guess my relationship with him is definitely what makes it way more nerve-wracking.
Yeah. We're going to talk about so many things on many podcasts, but we're kind of sat on a theme here, which I want to continue. I think it's going to give a lot of value to a lot of younger athletes, not just combat sports athletes, but we're going to sort of focus it there now. What do you think about the progression of mixed martial arts and combat sports? What are you seeing? What's the evolution, just in the industry as a whole and all that sort of stuff, from being someone that's just been in it since, for the last, 15 years?
Yeah, 15, I think now, 14, 15 years. The evolution of it. I don't know.
Do you think it's getting more technical? Do you think that, we're seeing this surgence of guys who are really treating it like a sport versus where it may have been more of a brutal fight, and then now we're seeing the combination of the both? Are you seeing it being a more legitimate sport?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Definitely when I was starting out, it was more like, I guess you could say it was like a mugs game, you know what I mean? It's like, if you weren't this rough, tough person that fought on the street and that, you're not going to make it in the sport. But now, I guess it's evolved so much. You get your ass beat by some little nerdy kid that's never had a fight in his life, except for in the gym. You know what I mean? It's just get a lot more technical. And even the coaching and everything's just way more technical now. Where before, when we were starting out, it was just like survival of the fittest in the gym. They talk like hard sparring. It's like, if you weren't trying to knock each other out in sparring, you might as well, did you even spar? Where now it's like, like when we tell people like, fucking, pull it back a bit. Fuck you, your training partners, we need each other.
Yeah.
So fucking trying to hurt each other.
More worried about brain health.
Yeah. I'd hate to know if they were to check my brain for CT when I'm gone, I'd hate to know how much calcifications happened in there over the years, because that's all it was. For longer, you'd spar like 3 or 4 times a week because you thought that was the only hard work you get. If you didn't drag yourself out of the gym, it didn't feel like you did a session. Where now the sport's evolved so much, and like we talked about before about the programs and the structure that we try and give the guys now. We're trying to get them all to wear heart rate monitors. We're trying to get them to do energy system stuff. When we're sparring, we're giving them set rounds and they're set goals, rather than just throwing them in there and with headgear on and saying, all right, now punch the fuck out of each other, and whoever's still standing is the better fighter, the winner. It's just not like that anymore. It's evolved more. There's the more science involved in it. Say with like head knocks, and just structuring it is just way better. I think like 10 years ago, I think we were just after every session you'd have to do 5 sparring rounds, punch fuck out of each other.
Enter the chat when it comes to like sparring or no sparring. Where do you sit on the whole sparring or no sparring thing? In and out of camp, whatever it is.
I think so. Like we've spoke about it before.
Because you love sparring.
I love sparring. Yeah, I love punch people.
And they pull you out of sparring sometimes.
Yeah, well, most of the time. I think and that's probably just from coming up. That's just what we did. So, and I felt like.
You can see with guys like Christian, for example, when he's leading into a fight, he feels like he needs to go to war.
Yes.
To know that he's mentally prepared.
Yeah, that's one of those, that's more like something within himself, I guess. And I've tried to pull him out of that, and for him, he's like, oh, but I won't have timing. I'm like, missing a couple of sparring sessions leading to a fight is not going to change how good you are at fighting, right? You can still get your time in that. And it's also too, it's not necessarily don't spar. It's just you have to find the right people. Like I said, surround yourself with the right people. If you've got a bunch of people that are trying to be the best in the gym, you're going to have sparring wars and people are going to get hurt. You got to have people that are willing to be bodies to help you prepare for fights rather than everyone in there for their own ego, which I think we are probably on the verge of that, which obviously it's fighting. So as much as you can say, come in with no ego, it's fighting. Everyone's got an ego. But when you're sparring, it's not like wrestling or jiu-jitsu. When you're sparring, you can wrestle at 100% and you might get hurt, but you're not getting your head punched in. If you come in and every single session and you're trying to fight and, it's your career's going to be short, or you will end up having all those head knocks, and then you will be an emotional mess in that. Like as we all know now, the more and more the sport evolves and the more science they bring into it, the effects of all those hard rounds of sparring. I think now, because the sport's been around long enough, we're starting to hear more of the effects for the guys that have spent a lifetime like that, like the mental health issues that come with it. Back in the day, no one had that. It wasn't mainstream enough to know. So I guess that's why here we're trying to encourage that more. Like, say, for example, at my camp, I remember we said that. It's like, fuck, I'm not going to come in and do 20 rounds of sparring twice a week.
Yep.
Like, I've done enough rounds of hard sparring. And I'm not saying you shouldn't spar. I'm just saying that you have to surround yourself with the right training partners and coaches to have them say, oi, that's too hard, or oi, you don't need to spar. Like the week out when I wanted to spar, and you're like, we don't need to. Like, what's the point? Like I said, I was tired, and I said I felt run down. I would have sparred because my own ego, and I felt I had to do it until you're like, oh, you just sit down. So I sat on the bike instead. And
it's not even ego. I just think that you're just so conditioned to do what is necessary, even if you're not feeling like you are 100% at that moment. And I love that. I think that's necessary, but you need someone to obviously say, no, you don't need to do that.
Yeah, I get a fighter's. I think that comes back to like a fighter's attitude. I guess it's like taking fights as well. When I was younger, there was no such thing as picking fights. You just got told you're going to fight someone and you're just happy to fight someone. Like, I think it's, same as like with sparring and that. It's like you feel like you have to do it and you have to win it and you have to go hard. You need people around you, whether it's coaches, managers, family, friends, that will be the angel on your shoulder instead of the devil. They're like, oi, you don't have to spar. You don't have to do this. Like, you've done enough, or they know when to pull you back. Because you don't want to burn the candle at both ends, and then by the time you get to fighting, your body's fucked. Like, everyone's going to go into fights with niggles and that. It's like, and I always use the analogy of like, you want to try and stack the chips in your favor every fight. You don't want to go into the fight with your opponent having, 3/4 of the chips in their corner. You want to try and have you want to give yourself the best possible chance for success as you can. And that often is having someone like we try to be to the guys here, someone to go pull them back. Or when you see someone will land a hard shot and then the next person goes, all right, a bit harder. And then you watch it go like this. If you don't have the right people around you, if you've got, people that, put you on a pedestal, or you've got, what do you call them? Like, people they're just happy to see people do that, right? I can't think of the word to use, but if you don't have someone that's going to put their foot down, you're going to have those gym wars, and you're going to have the injuries and all that shit. You need to have people around you that are in your corner that want to see you succeed. They're not there just to pass the time or get you to the fight. You want to have people that are actually invested in your success. And then I guess that goes full 180 back to when you have the bitterness, like some of the bitterness I have when the people don't try hard enough, because we're trying to give them the best chance for success we can. And the reason that we say the things we say, or we structure the way we structure, is because, like, I've done it the wrong way and I've done it the right way. It's like live and learn, right? And I say to the guys, what, you think I'm just fucking telling you this because I like the sound of my own voice? No, I said, I've done it the wrong way.
Yep.
I've seen the outcome of doing it the wrong way.
Yep.
So how about you try and do it the way that I didn't do it, or the way that I've seen other people do it and I've learnt from their success from my mistakes.
Yep.
You try and encourage them to do it that way, which is obviously, as you know, it's fucking way harder than it sounds because
really tough.
They don't want to listen. They want to have they want to keep that same mindset, like that ego mindset of like, if you tell someone they don't need to spar, or say their goal was 6 rounds, they get through 3, and we can physically see that they're not present.
Yep.
They're not doing the things they normally do that we've seen them do, and you pull them out, and then they sulk, like we're picking on them. It's like, no, motherfucker, we're trying to help you because we can see that this is not going in the right direction, and this is not your path to success now.
100%. That's usually where we see people get injured as well.
Yes.
Yeah. You've seen CMBT grow from the start, from obviously the gym at the start to the nutrition and everything about it. And you know that, from my perspective, it's all about creating better men and women and
creating better humans, I believe.
Creating better humans.
Was the term you used on me several times.
Yep, 100%. And I just think that obviously martial arts has been the anchor for the brand, but it's expanded to many different things. But I want to stay on the martial arts thing. What is sort of martial arts for you? What has it done for you? We can leave it here. And do you think that people should get into martial arts in general? Do you think people should fight if they think they want to have a fight? Where do you sort of sit with it just in life?
Well, I can actually use the last 3 years we can just use that as an exact example, right? What led me to not what led me to wanting to fight again. What led me to fight again was that fighting, I know, like I think we brought it up before about like what I feel internally. Fighting for when I'd retired, and then the other things outside of fighting started consume my life, and I know myself that I was spiraling down to a different way. You don't notice it at the time, right? It's like, use the analogy like weight loss. If you look at yourself in the mirror every day for 6 months, you don't necessarily see the change, right? But say if you haven't seen a person for 6 months and they've stayed the course for the 6 months, and you'll see them and they've say they've only lost 5 kilos, but you will notice a difference, but they won't, right? When you kind of are going down the wrong path, you don't notice you're going down the wrong path, and it doesn't matter people can tell you, but because it's like tiny micro adjustments as you've gone the wrong way. And then you look back and go 6 months, and you've lost 6 months, and you're like, you see where you got to and where you were. It's a massive change. You know what I mean? I feel like that's where my life was going with shit outside of fighting. And then getting back on track with being in the gym, same thing. Those micro adjustments in the right direction is what I think got me to where I am now. But it's not something I noticed in like click of the fingers. And I think and martial arts in general, and surrounding yourself with like what we've created here, it helps you find that path. You know what I mean? Like if you're willing to show up every day, you'll organically get there. You know, it's not something that you shouldn't have to fixate on. It'll just, if you have the right people around you, it'll happen. And I think that martial arts, whether it's MMA, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, whatever it is, I think if you commit to it, it'll just lead you in that direction. And that's what I feel happened, because I was going down the wrong path. I had some like close family members pass away, like cancer and relationship breakdowns and problems with my kids and court cases and bullshit stories made up about me and fucking plastered all over social media. And I let those things start to steer me the wrong direction, and then it started to spiral out of control. And it took me to change my mindset, cut out the people that were not necessarily bringing me down with them, but that they weren't helping me not go down that path. The gym is what helped me start the process of going back up the escalator instead of going down it, you know what I mean? And it got me to where I am now. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that if you can, I guess, it's just like if you surround yourself with the right people and that's all. I can always come back to that now, because that's what I feel like, that's the change I had to make, was to just surround myself with people that wanted to see me do better in and out of the gym. You know what I mean? I think that was a big thing. I don't know if that kind of answers the question or not, but
that's perfect. Everyone can find their version of what you just mentioned in terms of like the gym, and martial arts is a great expression of that sort of like community and everything. Like CMBT is all about being brave. If you're brave enough, you can fight adversity. If you fight adversity, you can unlock your true potential. This is what we talk about. But in order to become brave, we say you need to eat better, move more, be more mindful, and connect with people who believe in you and dare to be great and believe what you believe. And that's the last piece of the puzzle for you to be brave and be a better person.
Sorry to cut you off on that, but you were big on that for me, because you've seen firsthand the court case stuff, all that shit that was bringing me down.
And I want us to do a podcast on all that stuff.
Yeah, because I think I do. I would love to be the voice of men that get brought down and get put in the same category as men that are actually pieces of shit, right? Because I don't think men actually, and fuck, I'll probably cop slack for this as it is, but I think men, you just get put in the same, like anything domestic violence related, they just automatically rope you into you're this terrible person without any context to it. And you've seen what I went through with it all, without going into detail. You've seen how fucked up.
Let's go there. Give me another 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, where are we going before that? And then I can answer that one. I forget now.
No, I just think we're just talking about, how so many things outside of...
Oh, that's right. I remember now.
Go.
I remember when being in the gym, being brave and being here and just showing up, right? That's... How many days did I say to you when we were supposed to do pads? Fuck it, because I just had a meeting with my lawyer, or I just paid him another fucking $10,000 to represent me, and then you'd say, nah, come in, hit pads, and then you would see from the start of the hour to the end of the hour, it was like two different people.
For sure.
Once you come in and whether it's hit pads or roll, or surround yourself with people in the gym environment that are positive and they want to see you succeed, it just gives you a whole mindset of shift. And you come in with this miserable asshole attitude, like the world's against you, and I would leave a totally different person. You know what I mean? So I think, that made a massive difference for me, and you've seen it firsthand. So I think that's the beauty of having. And I think that, it could be any sport, but I think martial arts is the best for that, because like you come in and hit pads for a bit and let out all your frustration, all those problems, which whether they're big or small, for that hour or whatever it is you're in here, they're a distant memory. You might think about them when you're done, but I felt like afterwards I had a much better outlook on the situations. Those negative, depressive thoughts, they kind of get pushed away, and you get that dopamine high, and you're like, fuck yeah, I feel good again now. You know what I mean? And like I said, you seen it firsthand, because obviously you were holding pads for me and you're wearing it, coaching together and shit like that, You didn't allow me, even though at the time I was probably like, fuck Miles, I'm going to come and hit fucking pads. I feel like shit, I don't want to be at the gym, right? You wouldn't let me have that off, right? And I thank you for that, because after we were done, I felt it 1,000 times better. Had I not had someone in my corner going, oi, don't be a bitch. Get your ass in the gym. We said we were hitting pads today. Fuck it, come in and hit pads. And we'll do it. I'd mope in, drag my fucking toes, drag my lip on the floor, but I'd leave happy. And I think that's the beauty of having a good environment and having people in your corner like we spoke about.
Epic. Well, man, we got so much that I want to share with our community, and I'm glad that we sort of just focus on a bit of martial arts stuff, about your journey. So many people are excited to watch you fight. So many people were so happy to watch you fight on the weekend, especially our community. So on behalf of the community, I really appreciate you for leading from the front, just being such a strong character for our community. And I'm really excited for what we're building here.
Me too.
With CMBT, and you know, this 2025 is looking pretty special for us. And hey, if you get back in the cage, I'm excited for it.
Oh, I'm getting back in there.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I'm getting back in there. You'll see me in there next year. I already spoke to Cam. He's happy for me to be back in there. And
Perfect.
And like I said, leading to this one, I'm doing it now because my mindset's changed. And even when I was fighting before, I like to think that my fights are exciting.
Yep.
But I lowered the pressure I put on myself.
Yep.
Pressure's gone. I know who I am. I know I have the right people around me in and out of the gym, people that are there to support me, people there to pick me up when I'm down. And I think that's obviously made me a better person, and I hope that I can do that to other people as well, which I think that I'm not actually, you shouldn't have to try to do it, I don't think. If you have the people around you that are going to do that, then I guess it organically just happens. You do it to me, I do it to them, and then it becomes a cycle, and then you create a good environment. I hope that, I feel like that's where the position, like where I'm heading.
Yep.
Wherever, you know, no one's ever at their final destination. Everything's a stepping stone, right?
Yep.
And if I think if that's where I'm heading, and if the last fight and the last fight camp was anything to go off, I could have another 4 or 5 next year.
Perfect.
You know, which is what I'm hoping to do.
Yep.
Because now I've got that fire again now to compete.
Yep.
Without all the bullshit that comes with it.
Yep.
You know, and I love that.
That's awesome. All right. We've got to make way for all these kids that are about to fill this mat. So thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Love you. It's been a pleasure doing this camp with you. And sounds like we've got a few more to come.
We've got a few more to come, so you have a few more blood noses next year.
See you guys.